Where were you born and raised, Obi?
So I was born in Guyman, Oklahoma. My dad started putting glass in his dressers and cabinets. So he would travel to San Diego. So on the way back, me and my two brothers, because I'm a triplet, were born in Guyman, Oklahoma. I was born November 28th at 11:59. My brothers were born on November 29th. One was the 12:07, one was 12:37.
So you're the eldest.
So I am the eldest, but I am the shortest. I have the shortest feet, but the best game.
Tell me about your childhood growing up in Oklahoma. What was that like?
I wasn't raised in Oklahoma. I was raised in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. My mom is a escaped refugee Jew from the Holocaust. My dad picked her up and just, started making babies. And then I have, from when I was 0 to 10, as an Amish kid, my mom left. She took 8 of us, went to one of her moms and her sisters, and was like, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get a pack of cigarettes. And I was in Arkansas. 3 years later, she was back on the couch. She said she had gotten arrested, getting a pack of cigarettes. It's whatever.
So I understand correctly. 0 through 10, you were raised Amish.
Correct.
In that community.
Correct.
Your mom left with all 3 of you?
8. She left with 8 of us. She left with 4 boys and 4 girls.
And so you're saying that at one point your mom went to go get a pack of cigarettes and didn't come back until 3 years later?
Correct.
And what did you think? Like, what was your mindset?
I was 10. Little Rock wasn't a place for a 10-year-old, but you have to grow fast up there or down there. So initially, my grandma lived on Hoover Street. We became Hoover boys. We were bad little motherfuckers. And
what does that mean, Hoover boys? That was the reputation.
We ended up becoming gangbangers and, owning a turf.
Gotcha.
My grandma lived on 92nd, so we were rolling Hoovers. And we got to be known really fast, and, the other gangs from states came and, gave us flags and drugs, and were like, you guys are crazy, and, you're Jewish, so most of our 6-point folk knowledge, and, so 13, I walked into the door one day and I'm like, hi. She's like, hi. I was like, don't expect a hug. I sat for almost a year after school waiting for you to come back. And, I have forgiven my mom since then. Me and my mom are closer than most of her other children.
But when you're 13, there's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of animosity.
Stuff.
I took care of my grandma. I made sure that her check went correctly. I put 2 of my sisters in law school with drug money.
So drugs that you guys were
Correct, peddling.
Peddling.
I love that word.
Peddling.
It was roughly 10 to 15, 16, because my buddy Bobby shot the big blood that was ended up being a cop and a rogue. He got 35 years. We got 4 years for accessory being gang violence. That's an enhancement. You do flat time.
So you were in 4 years of what age were you?
I did 15, 16, 17, 18. I was almost 19 when I got out.
You said we. Who else?
It was my whole hood.
Gotcha.
Except 2 girls, which were my sisters. I told them they didn't have anything to do with it. They weren't involved. I got out in '89. I was like 227. I was like 6'3". I was big ass 19-year-old, fucking 19-inch arms, 8.5 fucking foot. Had the wall chip on my shoulder. It's called the wall chip. It's the penitentiary chip. And most of us got out, damn near at the same time. We went to Pittsburgh, and we started working, like doing favors and chores for this pimp, and my brother was getting a little bit closer than we wanted him to, because my mom doesn't like pimps, because they're soliciting women, and he's like, I'm gonna take over this pimp's job. He's dying of cancer. And I'm like, dude, our mother will never talk to you. He goes, this motherfucker makes $85,000 a year. I was like, God damn, that's great money. He's like, you want to come with me? I was like, I'm not going to be your assistant. That's for damn sure. So we left him. We went to Connecticut, where my aunt lived. I worked at a mechanic place probably like 2 years. And then my sister Naomi and Naomi were like, we want to go to Stanford. Can you support that? And I was like, I mean, you guys got an account that you can just do whatever with. I've always played dominoes. In the Amish community, there's this big hall where all the old elders with the beards go and play cards and dominoes, and so I knew how to play all the dominoes and all that. So that's how I would make money when I was younger. I would just go and have like 3 or 4 sets of dominoes from 12 to 20s to 28s to 60s, and just shake them in black hoods. It's kind of like the challenge shakers.
Okay.
And they'd be like, oh, I ain't gonna get my ass whooped by no white boy. And then they only know how to play fives, and so I know how to play blocks and challenge, and there's actually a domino game called Connect 4. And so I would play all of them in my head and lock them out and get all their points on their in their hand, and I would win, and they'd be pissed off, and it'd be 2-1, and then I'd have to bring my brothers, because then they wouldn't give me my money, then we'd have to fight. So then I would just bring my brothers all together. I'd stop going alone.
Like your blood brothers, or
Yes.
your gang brothers?
Oh, my blood. Well, I mean, 2 of my brothers were in the same set, so.
Yeah, right. So you guys all 3 stuck together all these places?
Yeah.
You guys all went to...
Well, Jebediah stuck with me mostly until he met this girl named Anna Mae, and, we kept getting, it was like selectively like broke off, I kept David the most. He's my youngest brother. He's special. Ever since he was born, he's just had a talent to pick up a piece of paper and draw horses. He now does 3D floors and makes lava and sharks jumping out and shit. So I was always winged him, because that's my little brother, and my mom was like, keep track of him most. And so when this French chick felt interest in him, and I was like, you just want him for his art, you don't want him, for his money, or you don't want him for his love, you want him for how he makes money. And she ended up, growing on me. So, I was like, David, you prepared, he's like, I love her, and I was, and that was 97 when I finally let go of my littlest brother. And they've been together ever since.
Okay. So where are they?
They live in France, in Horlaire. It's right outside of Orleans.
What about your other brother?
Jebediah he jumped off a tier.
Sorry to hear that.
Anna snitched on him. She got out. He got fucking 40 years. They charged him 10 years for each anhydrous ammonia barrel. He wasn't even really initially selling, and I believe him. He was just a sucker for the chick, and she was the actual lab grower, and it was all him. He did it. He forced me to do it, and he's not like that, He did 15 years, and then one day just It's been a long time since I talked about it. He just jumped off the tier. Head first, broke his neck. You know, he 35 years left.
Yeah. How long ago was this?
2009. And my brother Jedediah, he's the one that's a pimp. He thought I was doing some magic or something, you know. He's like, yeah, out there doing voodoo and shit. My heart skipped. I was like, I don't know why, you know. And my mom called, she three-wayed us and was like, hey, you boys sitting down? Your brother just jumped off the top tier of the Missouri State Prison. You know, and my Jedediah apologized, and I'm like, yeah, you're good, you know. And that was like, my mom and him hadn't talked in almost fucking 20 years, you know, because he's a pimp. She doesn't believe in that shit. So we all had our, you know, our reunion. We had it in Vegas, which is weird because I'm like, we have to have it outside, at least in Henderson, because I can't be in Vegas. I've had both my hands broken from counting cards. I guess that's illegal.
Apparently. So you're banned, kind of.
I am banned for life. Like, there's a picture in every casino, and my face hasn't ever changed. I did a Dorian Gray when I was 19. Spent $15,000 on a picture with the artist that was a bruja, and she drew a picture of me then, and still look pretty good now. My brother's a little pissed off because, you know, you can totally tell now who's who, because, you know, he has gray hair and he's big old fucking creases in his face, and, you know, he's like how do you not have creases in your face? I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not worried about 40, 50 women in my life wondering who's gonna give me my money or whose fucking feet are cold or not, or, you know, I'm not worried about my my Big Bird outfit, you know, and how I'm gonna swim with my fish in my bottom of my shoes. You know, I'm like, that's the 60s, you know. I made a lot of children. That's for definite. I have.
You have?
Yeah, I have
How many?
5 boys, 18 twins, and I have 2 sets of triplets.
That's like 20, almost 30.
I got a small village.
Where are all these?
All
children?
over the world. I
Because
have
you sounds like you've been kind of all
1,
over
2, 3. I have 8 grandchildren. 6 of them are from the same girl. She's like me. She's, you know. Her sister hasn't made any. They're with the same guy. I thought that was weird.
Well, for 6 years, did you guys settle down and kind of live the quote unquote?
Oh yeah,
typical
I
lifestyle?
lived. You know, I have my 2 daughters, Porsche and Mercedes, live not too far from here.
Oh, gotcha. So I assume, or I ask you, are you in contact with them? And
Oh yeah, they just turned 18. They just got their cars. When they were 11, they were like, because they heard me say, you can't own a Porsche unless you know how to really drive. Same with the Mercedes, and you can't name your kids the same if you've never owned a Porsche or a Mercedes. So they were like, have you ever owned a Porsche or Mercedes? I was like, well, yeah, but I wouldn't say it. So they were like, can we have it when we're 18? And I was like, shit, I gotta just stop driving it because I'll crash it. And, you know, because at that point I'd remodel it like 3 times. My Porsche, I don't know if you know that they didn't just pick the Pontiac for Kit. They put a challenge across America. What car do you think would be best for Kit if you want to make this car?
right.
You can send in a small video. I guess I had too much accessories. The fucking seats folded down, pressed together into an actual bed. There's 2 manuals, a cigarette popper out from the dashboard.
So I'm a little confused. So you have daughters up to not too far from here. Do you
I have the cars.
You have the cars that are there?
They have them.
They have the cars now?
Correct. Yes.
And is there a home that you have as well? Or and are they with their mom?
So me and their mom, we had a little fallout.
Your differences, sure.
We had our differences. But the one thing that I have done, and that's, because of my father's morals and aspects, is, if you have a beard, take care of your family. Because for every count of your beard's hair is a count from your house, your assets, and your children.
And this sounds like it comes from the Amish
Yes.
tradition, whatever.
So, I'm not broke. I do have a pension, which is real close. I'm really happy to say that. It's been a while. Most of my Domino money went to my children. I was just blowing it for a while, and my buddy was like, "Yo, you're really good at dominoes, man. You should actually put some of this shit away. You got hella kids, bro. You're gonna be 50 years old crying that you didn't take care of your kids because some of your kids' babies' moms are fucking off, and they're not supporting their house." My kid's baby's mom, Amelia, and I don't know if you know John Lumpy. They don't have to pay their property tax until 2035. That's dominoes.
Gotcha. I understand.
I've won the domino tournament twice. I got kicked out 23 years ago. I beat the shit out of my partner. We were playing two players. He gave them too much money, and I just freaked out. It just didn't make sense. I thought he was working for the other place, so plus I was really high on alcohol and roofies, and
Not quite in the right mind.
Yeah, roofies don't make you in the right mind anyway. People often ask me why did you just voluntarily do roofies? Well, I didn't voluntarily just start doing roofies. I was actually using it to weight lift, which is what it's for. It's muscle memory. It's not muscle loss. It is memory loss, that's for sure. But as far as I did it voluntarily after that. It was fun. It's like a time warp. You'd end up in random places and checking pockets. So,
well, I'm curious about your lifestyle now. Obi, you say you're in that tent over there. How did that happen? Or how long is that? Have you gone back and forth?
No, I've always, I've done my drug dealing days, and I'm bald, and I'm just like, there's more friends here. That's what I'm gonna say. I didn't choose to be here. I had a baby's mom that she was sleeping with a woman, and I was like, hey, she's like, you want to get involved? I was like, I don't. That's not godly. She's like, you're fucking so full of shit. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. I'm not my dad. I don't want 5 wives. I want 1 wife. I don't want to share. I don't care if you're a woman or a man. You're mine. You should, respect that. And, she was like, no, I've had this chick for a long time. And so she's told DSHS and shit that, I did opiates because, one of her church people caught me on the street with a dab rig in my ear, because they put the oil in actual rigs.
I don't know what that is. I don't understand.
The oil, extract marijuana weed oil?
Right.
Well, they put them in
a rig, what's that?
Like rigs that you shoot up, or, that you do insulin with.
And you had that in your ear?
And I had that in my ear, and, I have narcolepsy. I got diagnosed when I was like 35. I have narcolepsy 2 now. Hopefully I don't go to narcolepsy 3. I'm gonna have a person constantly with me, which I don't want. But if I'm at a corner too long, my body will go to sleep. That's just how it, had it my whole life. Like, my dad's been like, hey, something's wrong with this one. He's just sleeping all the time. My dad thought it was funny. He would, initially, my dad was like 7'7", so he'd like, he would like not kick me, but he would nudge me, he'd like, hey, you either fall over or stand up, one of the two. And, I was caught at a corner with one of those in my ear, and she automatically was like, he's doing opiates. And, that was her ghetto driver, I guess. And, she told me I couldn't see my kids anymore. I've seen them probably 5 or 6 times in the last 2 years.
Wow.
Which,
What's that like? I mean, I got two
it makes
daughters.
It makes Jonah and Ashoka really confused, because they're my youngest boys. And
How old are they?
6 and 4.
Oh yeah.
And this is my first time like going through this, because usually my baby's mamas were pretty cool. A lot of people don't know that my first 8 were from the same girl. I was probably 11 years of relationship, and so.
So she kicked you out, I assume?
I mean, she sort of. So I was like, I'm not gonna go because that's bullshit. I'm going to fight this. I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna call my Y. I called her my Y is my sister. I mean, like, why did you want to do this? You knew I had lawyers. She's met both my lawyers. She's met lawyers that even if my sister couldn't sponsor me, they would be one of my lawyers. So, and I came home. The kids were in bed, which was kind of weird, because they usually, see me and then go to bed. And so I was like, whatever. I was eating, and she's like, so if we broke up, what would we do about child support? I was like, you set me up somehow. And she's like, what? I was like, you set me up somehow. You think I'm gonna go do time? And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I just, I'm a prophet, lady. I got intuition like a motherfucker. Like, I put my plate, I slid my plate over away from me, and I was like, how long are they gonna be? And she's like, the kids? No, the cops. Where are the cops? She's like, what are you tripping on? And knock at the door, and then, they're like, you're under arrest for possession of firearm. And I'm like, I don't even own a gun. I was like, that was dirty. I called my mom. My mom was pissed. It took about a half an hour for me to tell my mom, to not go beat her up. Like, my mom wanted to whoop her ass,
What year was this?
This is 2 years ago.
A couple years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's when you.
Yeah. I've been out here for about 2 years now.
You're not for about 2 years. Gotcha.
I got out an hour after I got in, because they had to dismiss it. There's no way you can charge me a felon with possession of a firearm
When you don't own one.
when
Right.
I wasn't even there. She had put she had put my old ID, my Washington State Correctional identification, in a drawer and a 9mm on top of it, and said, this is his side. They took the gun. There was a old piece that was said between my mom and a cop when I was like 22. They were like, oh yeah, your son's here, and we're gonna arrest him because this is his gun. And she's like, my son would never own a gun that's a Glock. My son would never grab a Glock ever in his life. He's like, why is that? He's like, because they tell on you. They make the bullet leave the gun. My son would always carry a revolver. He's always been the cowboy gunslinger. He will take the time to practice from a 6-shooter to find that you are, he's quicker than you with a 10. And so my sister recorded that. It saved my life twice. So I was pushed out here, and
From where were you?
I was in Bremerton.
Okay, gotcha.
Initially, we were having problems anyway. You know, because Bremerton's full of Aryans and Nazis, and I didn't get along with them very well in the joint. You know, I got 9 6-point stars across my body and 3 gangster disciple creeds, and you know, pitchforks and moons and all that shit. So they know what it meant. And you know, I did 71 months altogether in Walla Walla. I probably did about 15 months on mainline.
Was this all revolving around drugs and?
No, I got.
Drugs?
This was a robbery. It was a robbery gone bad. I guess, you know, dude wanted to rob me, and he, I guess, you know, he didn't know who he was gonna fucking try and rob, but I was going through a real fucked up time in my life, so I kind of like, you know, put the gun. I was like, do it, bro. You know, fuck you gonna do? You know, what do you ain't got the balls. You ain't a nut in your family, man. And you know, he did. Blew a fucking quarter top of my head off, and I was in the hospital for like 7 months. I thought, you know, yeah, I'm gonna get out, and then, you know, I wasn't. I forgot that usually when he blew my head off, I grabbed the gun, I fucking pistol whipped him with the back of the gun, I fucking stomped him out. I took his money. Initially, my head's still bleeding. It's still a fucking hole in it.
I see you around with hats a lot.
Huh?
I see you around with hats.
Yeah. It's all right here. I have a skull. I'll show you. It's actually where they cut and you know, put all my pens and shit. So I got 165 bones that I broke when I was 25 years old. I saved a deaf blind couple. That's initially where I thought I became Superman, which, you know, it's kind of dangerous. I had titanium and Tuscan, majority spread out through my body because I'm allergic to a lot of nickel and silver.
Obi, I'm curious. How do you cope? What do you do to cope?
What do you mean?
You know, a lot of people do art, roll dice.
I roll dice. I used to play dominoes. Don't nobody want to play dominoes with me anymore because they don't win.
Yeah, well, because they probably know by now that.
I do actually let people win sometimes, and then they get mad at me. God damn. Anyway.
You also told me about.
I told you about what?
Work. When I talked to you a second ago, you said,
I am a mover. I have been a mover. My dad doesn't understand, you know, because by trade I'm an actual carpenter. Oh.
So you do have a job.
I do have a job. I've been trying to save money to get my own home because, you know, they've tried to help me 4 or 5 times. I do have. I have done a lot of anger management, but I still have anger issues towards certain human beings. I don't like. If you're going to put me in a tiny home area, please make sure, you know, and I tell them this, please make sure that there's no molesters, because I had a book like this. It was like 2,000 pages. I've pretty well on photographical memory. I've memorized a lot that are registered and not registered, and I will assault them.
I mean, if there's kind of an obvious answer why, is there anything that happened to you that there's some trauma there?
You know, a little, sort of. You know, my mom, when she left my grandma, my uncle, you know, kind of did some fucking weird shit with us, and you know, I was already, you know, initially like dickhead mode. And so I was like, fuck no, this isn't right. And I stabbed my uncle in the fucking kneecap and in the throat 6 times. I didn't get any time. I was 11. I got treatment, and I figured out that there's two types of people that get molested. There's ones that continue to do the molesting because it's just fashionably okay. And then there are others that get so angry about it that they just initially want to kill everything in sight that touches a child. I'm a father of many, and I would never want that to happen to my children or my grandchildren.
Right.
So I wish we would just put them on crosses every day. And
so tiny homes is an option, but you feel like you're not kind of the best fit, I guess.
I mean, like I told London, it's my recent baby's mom. I was like, she's like, I really want you to come. I really want you to see the kids. I was like, well, I can see the kids. It's up to you, though. You want me to be in a house. You want me to you don't like hotels because there's prostitutes and crackheads and drug dealers, and that's everywhere you go. Like you can go to the Hyatt, and you're gonna get the upper class ones. So. I do want to be in a house, but I've done. Altogether, man, I've done about 15 and a half years in prison.
Right.
And so boxes I don't like boxes. I feel trapped in boxes.
So are you saying there's an element of living on the streets that you do like?
It's a no worry of squares.
Tell me more about that.
Like I said, I did 15 and a half years in between state and federal prison. Me, my brother Zachariah, and my brother Jedediah, before he became a pimp, we are the Sammy Bull Beater uppers. We got charged with tampering with federal state witness. I did 2.5 years for that. That was probably the best time I ever had in my life in prison. You're like treated like a god after you beat Sammy Bull up. But I didn't want to do it. It was my two brothers. They had watched all these Italian films and thought the fucking Jews were the go-getters that the Italians wanted, and I know how to play golf really well, but I'm horrible on short game. So my goal's a hole in one. So the Italians love that shit, and but yeah, I was I just doing so much time. I can jump out of my tent, and be free, instead of it takes you a minute to go get down from your bed, and put on a pair of slippers and then run down a fucking flight of steps out the front door, and then you're outside. That's a lot of fucking squares you got to mob through. So it's more or less,
Obi, a question for you. What would you want the people of Seattle to know?
We're not all flailers. A lot of us, we do. Some of us, most of us, we have purpose. We just chose to be out here. Everybody had, some critical something that happened throughout our life, that pushed us out here, whether it was a baby's mom, cheating on you, or, mom and dad beating you, or, you wanting to not be around a brother that was treating you wrong, and your mom and dad didn't understand. We're people. And, I'll treat everybody with the same hospitality that my father gives, but I won't turn a cheek twice. I'm not Jesus. I'm humble as I could get, but it's a different aspect between that,
Right on, man. Thanks for sharing your story, man.
I do want, for a while I have been trying to get some of the nonprofit together to get what's called fund a homeless. You fund one homeless kid, like 32 cents a day and shit, because we got to worry about what's going on here before we got to worry what's going on in a third world country. Or this is going to become a third world country if the community doesn't take care of the substantial problem. And I know it's not their idea, and they think, well, it's not ours, our responsibility, but it kind of is our responsibility because we've moved now into your suburban area, With that being said, Portland has homes that are on trailers. that you can move around the park. I've been trying to do that here. So.
Oh, man. Well,
I do
thanks.
like your shirt, and that's great. I was going to say that.
Thanks, man. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it.